For most people, silence feels like emptiness, and loneliness feels like a punishment. But what if I told you that some of the happiest, strongest, and most creative people in history found their power in moments of being completely alone? You see, solitude is not the absence of people, it's the presence of yourself. We live in a world that constantly tells us to stay connected, online, in crowds and noise. But in doing so, many of us have lost the most important connection of all, the one we have with our own hearts. Happiness, my friends, is not something you find in another person's smile. It's something you build quietly within yourself when no one else is watching. When I was younger, I often believed that being surrounded by people meant being successful. But I've learned that true success begins when you are content, even in your own company. It's in the quiet moments, sitting by a window, walking alone, reflecting on your dreams, that you start to understand who you really are. Being alone gives you the freedom to listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the voice inside you that says, "This is who I want to become, to be happy alone. You must become your own best friend. Treat yourself with the same respect, patience, and kindness that you give others. Enjoy your own thoughts, your own hobbies, your own victories, even your own failures. Because when you start to love your own company, you stop depending on others to fill your emptiness. And that, my friends, is the beginning of real peace." There's another truth I've learned. Happiness doesn't always come from excitement. Sometimes it comes from contentment. When you stop comparing your life to others and start being grateful for what you have, even if it's just a small cup of tea, a quiet evening, or a book that inspires you, you begin to see how rich you already are. Let me leave you with this thought. If you can sit alone and smile, you have mastered one of life's greatest skills. Being happy alone is not isolation, it's independence of the soul. It's knowing that whether the world stands beside you or not, your happiness stands within you, unshaken, complete, and alive. There is a quiet kind of strength that comes from being alone, a strength most people never discover because they are too afraid of silence. We live in an age where noise has become our comfort zone. The moment things go quiet, we reach for our phones, scroll through endless feeds, or look for someone to talk to, not because we want to, but because we fear what might happen if we are left alone with our thoughts. But let me tell you something that life has taught me again and again. Solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is power. It is the calm space where you meet the most honest version of yourself. When you are surrounded by people, it's easy to lose sight of who you are. The voices of others, their expectations, their judgments, their comparisons, begin to fill your mind until your own voice is drowned out. You start to live a life that pleases everyone but yourself. But when you step away for a moment and choose to be alone, the noise fades, the confusion settles. What's left is the pure, unfiltered you. That's when you start to see what truly matters, what brings you peace, what inspires you, what you truly want to build your life around. The greatest ideas in history were not born in crowds. They were born in moments of deep silence, in the mind of someone sitting alone, reflecting, dreaming, creating. Whether it was a scientist in his lab, a poet under a tree, or a leader sitting quietly in reflection, the seed of greatness has always been planted in solitude, because solitude allows your mind to breathe. It gives your thoughts room to grow and connect in ways they never could when distracted by the world's constant noise. But solitude isn't just about thinking, it's also about feeling. When you're alone, you learn to face your emotions, the ones you usually hide from, the sadness, the fear, the uncertainty, all the feelings that get buried under the busyness of life. It might be uncomfortable at first. You might feel restless, even a little lost. But slowly, something begins to change. You realize that these emotions are not your enemies, they are teachers. They help you understand what you truly value and what you must let go of. They help you grow stronger, wiser, and more at peace with yourself. Solitude teaches you emotional independence. You learn that your happiness doesn't have to depend on someone else's presence or approval. You stop waiting for others to make you feel valued or loved. You begin to build that love from within. That's when you start living a life that's truly your own, not one shaped by the opinions or expectations of others. You stop chasing validation and start seeking purpose. You see, there is a big difference between being lonely and being alone. Loneliness is when you crave someone else's company but cannot find it. Solitude, on the other hand, is when you enjoy your own company and don't need anyone to complete you. When you reach that state, you can still enjoy the company of others, but it's no longer a necessity. It becomes a choice. You share your time because you want to, not because you fear being alone. And that is freedom, the kind of freedom that very few people experience in their lives. In solitude, you start to hear the quiet whisper of your own soul. You rediscover your curiosity, your creativity, and your courage. You start asking questions you've avoided for years, questions like, am I truly happy with where I am? What am I really passionate about? What kind of person do I want to become? These are not easy questions, and sometimes the answers are uncomfortable. But these moments of truth are what shape your life. They give you clarity, direction, and confidence. And when you finally walk back into the world, you walk taller, not because you have all the answers, but because you've made peace with yourself. When you learn to be comfortable alone, something extraordinary happens. You stop rushing through life. You start noticing the little things. The sound of rain against the window, the warmth of sunlight on your face, the calm of an evening breeze. You start finding beauty in simplicity, and with that comes gratitude. You begin to realize that happiness isn't hidden in grand achievements or constant companionship. It's hidden in these quiet, fleeting moments that you only notice when the world slows down and you allow yourself to simply be. Many people believe that happiness is something you find outside yourself, in relationships, success, or recognition. But the truth is, happiness begins in solitude, because only when you are comfortable being alone can you truly enjoy being with others. When your heart is whole by itself, it no longer clings or depends. You love freely, you give freely, and you live freely. So do not fear being alone. Embrace it. Let solitude become your teacher, your healer, your mirror. Spend time with yourself, not because you have to, but because you deserve to. Go for a walk alone. Sit in silence for a few minutes each day. Write your thoughts down. Reflect. Dream. You'll be surprised at how peaceful it feels and how much strength you carry inside you, quietly waiting to be found. In the end, solitude is not a place of emptiness. It is a place of discovery. It's where you learn that you are enough. And once you learn that, no amount of loneliness can ever take away your peace again. One of the most beautiful but often forgotten relationships in life is the one you have with yourself. We spend so much time trying to be good friends, good partners, good children, and good colleagues that we forget to be good companions to our own hearts. Yet this is the relationship that lasts the longest, from the day you are born until the day you leave this world. If that relationship is weak, no matter how many people surround you, you will still feel lonely. But if that relationship is strong, even when the world goes silent, you will feel complete. Building self-companionship is not about isolation or arrogance. It's about friendship, the kind that asks for nothing but honesty. To be your own companion, you must first learn to enjoy your own company. Think of the people you love being around. What makes them special? Perhaps they listen to you without judgment, make you feel valued, and lift you when you fall. Now imagine giving those same gifts to yourself. Listen to your own thoughts without criticism. Encourage yourself when you stumble. Celebrate your little victories. That is where the journey begins. Many of us are harsh with ourselves. We forgive others easily, but punish ourselves for every small mistake. We speak kindly to friends, but use cruel words in our own minds. This constant self-judgment creates a distance between who we are and who we wish to be. Self-companionship bridges that gap. It means replacing that inner critic with a wiser, gentler voice, one that says you're doing your best and that's enough for today. That simple shift can change everything, because when you treat yourself with compassion, the world around you starts to feel kinder too. There are moments in life when people will walk away, not because they want to hurt you, but because life moves differently for everyone. In those moments, your self-companionship becomes your shelter. It's the hand that steadies you when you lose balance. It's the quiet reassurance that even if others don't understand your journey, you will continue walking. It's the silent strength that says, I am with me. And strangely, once you learn to stand by yourself, people begin to respect you more. They sense the peace that comes from within, and they are drawn to it. Learning to enjoy your own company also means rediscovering your interests, your curiosity, and your imagination. Spend time doing things that make you happy, not for approval or attention, but purely for joy. Read a book, paint something imperfect, plant a tree, listen to music, take a long walk. In those moments, you aren't escaping loneliness, you're nurturing a friendship with yourself. You're saying, I value my time, I value my mind, I value my presence. The more you do this, the less you depend on others to validate your worth. It's important to remember that self-companionship doesn't mean you won't feel lonely. Everyone does at times, but when you have built trust within yourself, loneliness no longer feels like emptiness. It feels like a pause, a moment to breathe and reflect. Instead of running from it, you learn to use it. You ask, what is this silence trying to teach me? Maybe it's teaching patience. Maybe it's asking you to slow down. Maybe it's reminding you to return to the simple things that make life meaningful. Building self-companionship also means accepting your imperfections. We live in a world obsessed with success and appearance, but true companionship comes from authenticity. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy of your own friendship. You only need to be real. Sit with your flaws and fears. They are part of your story. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a child learning to walk, with patience, encouragement, and pride for every small step forward. When you do that, you begin to feel lighter. You stop hiding from yourself. You start living with honesty, and that honesty becomes freedom. Sometimes people think self-companionship makes you self-centered. It's quite the opposite. When you have a peaceful relationship with yourself, you have more love and understanding to give others. You no longer cling to people out of need or fear. You can love them freely because your happiness doesn't depend on them. You stop expecting others to fix what you have already healed within. And that balance between independence and connection is what makes relationships truly beautiful. Every evening, take a few minutes to reflect. Ask yourself, how did I treat myself today? Did I speak with kindness or criticism? Did I honor my feelings or ignore them? Did I make time for something that brings me joy? Small acts like this build a lifetime of companionship. Over time, you will notice that you no longer feel lost when you are alone. Instead, you'll find comfort in your own presence, like sitting with a dear friend who understands you without words. The truth is, you can't escape yourself. Wherever you go, you will always be there. So you have two choices, to be your own enemy or your own ally. When you choose the latter, life becomes gentler, failures become lessons, silence becomes peace, and solitude becomes strength. You begin to walk through life with quiet confidence, knowing that even if no one stands beside you, you will never truly be alone, because you have built a friendship that nothing can break, the friendship with your own soul. And when you reach that point, something magical happens. You wake up each morning not waiting for someone else to make you feel special, but feeling grateful just to be yourself. You look in the mirror and see not a collection of flaws, but a person who has learned, grown, and survived. You smile, not for the world, but for yourself. And that smile, that peace, is what it truly means to be happy alone. Every person in this world is searching for happiness, but very few truly understand where it comes from. We often believe that happiness lies in comfort, in wealth, or in the company of others. But the truth is, the most fulfilling kind of happiness doesn't come from what you receive. It comes from what you create. It's born from a sense of purpose and passion that gives meaning to your life, especially when you are alone, when you wake up each day with something to look forward to, something that moves your heart and engages your spirit. Solitude stops feeling like emptiness and starts feeling like opportunity. Purpose gives direction to our days. It answers the quiet question that sits in every human heart: why am I here? Passion gives color to that purpose. It turns your life into something that feels alive, something that pulls you forward even when times are difficult. You may not discover your purpose in one grand moment. Sometimes it reveals itself slowly through small acts, quiet reflections, and honest conversations with yourself. But once you find it, you begin to feel a kind of peace that doesn't depend on anyone else. When you are alone, purpose becomes your best companion. It fills the silence with meaning. It gives your thoughts direction and your actions intention. Without purpose, solitude can feel heavy, even unbearable. But with it, solitude becomes a sacred space, a workshop for your dreams. You begin to use your quiet hours to build something, a skill, a vision, a contribution. You stop counting time and start cherishing it, because every moment alone becomes a step toward something greater. Many people wait for others to give their life meaning, a partner, a family, a career, or a friend. But when you rely on others to define your purpose, you hand them control over your happiness. True fulfillment comes when your purpose grows from within. It could be something as grand as changing the world, or as simple as spreading kindness wherever you go. What matters is that it is yours. It must align with your values, your talents, and your heart. When you live with purpose, every day becomes worth waking up for, no matter who stands beside you. Passion, on the other hand, is the fire that keeps that purpose alive. It is the energy that makes work feel less like duty and more like art. Passion doesn't always mean doing something big or glamorous. It can be quiet, steady, and deeply personal. You might find passion in writing, teaching, helping others, building something with your hands, or simply learning something new. Passion is not about fame or recognition. It's about joy. It's about doing something that makes you lose track of time, something that makes your soul feel alive. There will be moments when life feels uncertain, when loneliness whispers in your ear. In those moments, your purpose and passion become your light. They remind you that you are here for a reason, that your existence has meaning even when no one else is watching. When you pour your energy into something that matters to you, loneliness transforms into focus. The hours you spend alone stop feeling empty because you're building something beautiful, a dream, a legacy, a better version of yourself. It's important to remember that your purpose doesn't have to be grand or public to be valuable. The world often celebrates visible success, but true purpose can be quiet. It can be the effort you put into raising a kind child, caring for your parents, or helping someone find hope. Passion doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers through your consistency, your sincerity, and your commitment. What matters is that it gives you joy, direction, and peace. Finding your purpose often requires patience. It rarely arrives fully formed. You might have to try many things, fail, change direction, start again. And that's okay. Every experience teaches you something about yourself. Every step brings you closer to understanding what truly matters to you. So don't rush it. Listen to your heart, not the noise of the world. Your purpose doesn't need to impress anyone. It only needs to fulfill you. When you discover that purpose, protect it, nurture it like a flame. There will be days when you doubt yourself, when the world seems too big and your efforts too small. But remember, even the smallest candle can light up a dark room. You don't have to change the world to make a difference. Sometimes all you need to do is make one life a little better, including your own. When you live with that intention, even the simplest moments, your morning routine, your quiet evenings, your daily work, start to feel sacred. Purpose and passion also make you resilient. When you're guided by something meaningful, failures don't break you, they teach you. Loneliness doesn't scare you, it strengthens you. Because you know that your happiness doesn't depend on the presence or absence of others. It depends on how deeply you live your truth. That is the kind of happiness that lasts. The kind that no one can take away. In the end, to be happy alone, you must fill your solitude with purpose. You must do something each day that gives you a reason to smile. It could be learning, creating, helping, or simply reflecting. When your time alone becomes a space for growth rather than waiting, you stop feeling lonely. You start feeling alive. And that aliveness, that quiet joy that comes from doing what you love, is the truest form of happiness. So don't just search for happiness, build it through purpose. Don't just seek company, seek meaning. Because when your heart is guided by something you believe in, you will never truly walk alone. Even in silence, even in solitude, you will carry a light within you, steady, bright, and completely your own. There comes a time in everyone's life when they start to realize that happiness has less to do with what they have and more to do with how they see it. Gratitude and perspective are two of life's greatest teachers. They transform ordinary days into blessings and challenges into lessons. They remind us that joy is not always about adding more to our lives, but about seeing what we already have with new eyes. And when you are alone, these two qualities, gratitude and perspective, can turn silence into serenity and solitude into strength. Most people spend their lives chasing what they don't have. They compare their journey to others, measure their success through someone else's lens, and forget to look at the simple things that quietly make their lives beautiful. Gratitude is the gentle reminder that you already have enough. It doesn't mean ignoring your ambitions or settling for less. It means learning to appreciate what is good, even while working toward what could be better. It's about saying, yes, I want more, but I'm thankful for what's here now. That mindset alone can change your entire experience of being alone. When you wake up each morning and take a moment to be grateful for your health, for the roof above your head, for the people who love you, even for the lessons learned through pain, something begins to shift inside you. You start seeing abundance instead of lack. The quiet moments that once felt empty start to feel peaceful. Gratitude teaches you that happiness is not something waiting on the horizon. It's something that grows in the soil of the present moment. Perspective, on the other hand, is the wisdom that allows you to see life in balance. It's understanding that every difficulty carries a lesson, every ending carries a new beginning, and every loss creates space for something new to enter. When you are alone, it is easy to fall into thoughts like I'm missing out or everyone else seems happier. But perspective helps you see that solitude is not a punishment. It's a phase of growth, a season for reflection. It teaches you that while others might have their own joys, you too have your own path, one that's unfolding exactly as it should. There are people with much less than you who still find reasons to smile every day. There are people who carry invisible burdens and yet greet each morning with hope. Gratitude allows you to see through that lens, to understand that happiness is not about the number of possessions or the size of achievements, but about the quality of your thoughts. When you focus on what's missing, even abundance feels like scarcity. But when you focus on what's present, even simplicity feels like richness. That is the quiet magic of gratitude. When you begin to live with gratitude, loneliness starts to lose its power over you. Instead of seeing solitude as something that takes away, you start to see what it gives. It gives you time to rest, to heal, to dream, to rediscover what truly matters. It gives you the space to notice things you once overlooked. The beauty of a sunrise, the taste of your morning tea, the comfort of your home, the music of the wind. Gratitude teaches you to find joy not in grand moments, but in the small, everyday miracles that fill your life, if only you pay attention. Perspective also helps you to stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Everyone's journey unfolds differently. Some people find love early, others find purpose later. Some achieve success fast, others bloom quietly, steadily, and deeply. When you understand that timing in life is unique for everyone, envy fades and peace grows. You begin to trust the process instead of fighting it. You begin to see that maybe, just maybe, your solitude is not a pause in your story, but a chapter of transformation. Gratitude and perspective together build resilience. They teach you to bend without breaking. When life doesn't go as planned, gratitude reminds you of what remains. Perspective reminds you that it won't always be this way. Gratitude grounds you in the present, while perspective gives you hope for the future. Together, they turn every experience, even the painful ones, into something meaningful. You start seeing problems not as punishments, but as teachers. You start realizing that even in loss, there's growth. Even in silence, there's understanding. Being alone gives you a rare opportunity to practice gratitude more deeply. When there's no one else around, your thoughts become clearer, your senses sharper. You notice the little details that make your life uniquely yours. The people who stood by you when others didn't. The lessons that came from heartbreak. The times you survived when you thought you couldn't. Each of these is something to be grateful for. And the more you acknowledge them, the lighter your heart becomes. If there's one truth I've learned, it's that you can't be truly unhappy and deeply grateful at the same time. Gratitude and unhappiness cannot coexist in the same heart. When you choose to focus on what's good, no matter how small, you begin to rewrite the story of your life. You start to see beauty where you once saw emptiness. You start to feel rich even without riches and loved even without constant company. That is the power of gratitude, and that is the gift of perspective. So when you find yourself alone, don't let your mind wander to what's missing. Instead, look around and whisper a quiet thank you. Thank the moment for allowing you to breathe. Thank the silence for helping you listen. Thank the solitude for giving you time to grow. Happiness doesn't come from having everything. It comes from noticing everything you already have. And when you live with that awareness, even the simplest life becomes extraordinary. In the end, gratitude and perspective turn being alone into a peaceful art. They remind you that no matter where you are or who is beside you, life is still full of reasons to smile. You just have to open your eyes to see them and open your heart to feel them. The fast pace of modern life, stillness has almost become a forgotten art. We are constantly moving, chasing goals, managing expectations, responding to messages, and filling every silent second with activity. Yet in this endless motion, Many people wonder why they still feel lost. The truth is, growth doesn't always happen in movement. Often, it happens in stillness, in those quiet spaces where the world pauses long enough for you to hear your own heart again. Stillness is not about doing nothing. It's about being present, fully aware of yourself and your surroundings without trying to change or escape them. It's about letting your thoughts settle, your emotions breathe, and your spirit reset. When you're always in motion, your mind becomes like a storm, full of noise, ideas, and worries colliding with each other. But when you allow stillness, even for a few minutes, the storm begins to clear. You start to see what truly matters and what was just passing distraction. Most people fear stillness because it exposes what they've been avoiding. When everything goes quiet, the mind starts to speak, reminding you of your regrets, your insecurities, your unhealed wounds. But that's exactly why stillness is powerful. It gives you the chance to face those parts of yourself gently, without judgment. It allows healing to begin. Growth isn't about ignoring pain. It's about understanding it, learning from it, and allowing it to guide you towards something better. And that process can only happen when you stop running from yourself. Being alone offers you the gift of stillness if you're brave enough to accept it. You no longer have to perform for others, prove your worth, or pretend to be fine. You can simply be. You can sit with your thoughts and ask the questions that truly matter. Am I living the life I want? What am I holding on to that no longer serves me? What kind of person do I want to become? These are not questions that find answers in noise or haste. They find answers in silence. Stillness gives you the clarity to see your life not through the fog of reaction, but through the calm of reflection. It's in those moments of stillness that you start to notice how far you've come. You begin to appreciate the battles you've survived quietly, the strength you've built without applause. You realize that even though life may not be perfect, you are still growing, still learning, still evolving. That awareness itself is growth. It doesn't happen overnight. It grows quietly, like roots beneath the ground, invisible but essential. And when the time is right, that inner growth blooms into confidence, wisdom, and peace. Stillness also teaches patience, something the modern world often forgets. We are used to instant results, instant responses, instant gratification. But real growth, real healing, and real understanding take time. The seed does not become a tree in a day. In the same way, your growth will unfold slowly, gently, through moments of silence and reflection. When you embrace stillness, you stop demanding answers and start trusting the process. You learn to wait without worry, knowing that life reveals its lessons when you are ready to receive them. There is also a spiritual beauty in stillness. When you stop speaking for a while and simply listen, you start to feel connected, not just to yourself, but to life itself. You notice the rhythm of the world around you, the sound of the wind, the movement of clouds, the calmness of your own breathing. You realize that peace was never something to be found outside. It was always within, waiting for you to slow down and listen. That realization changes everything. You begin to live more intentionally. You make choices more thoughtfully. You respond instead of reacting. You start living from awareness instead of habit. Stillness also builds strength. Many people think strength is loud, about fighting, pushing, or proving, but real strength is quiet. It's the kind that allows you to stand firm when the world shakes, to stay calm in chaos, to trust yourself even when everything around you feels uncertain. That kind of strength is born in stillness, in those moments when you choose not to rush, not to panic, but to breathe and believe. Every time you sit in silence and choose calm over chaos, you are strengthening your soul. When you make peace with stillness, loneliness starts to lose its grip. you begin to see solitude not as an absence of connection, but as a deeper connection with yourself, with nature, with life. You no longer need constant noise to feel alive. The quiet becomes comforting, even sacred. You find joy in small, unspoken moments. Watching a sunset, feeling the rain, sitting with a cup of tea, or simply breathing and realizing you are here now and that is enough. The most remarkable thing about stillness is that it transforms you from within. It teaches you that growth doesn't always look like achievement. Sometimes it looks like letting go of what you can't control. Sometimes it looks like forgiving yourself. Sometimes it's just sitting quietly and allowing life to unfold without resistance. That kind of inner growth doesn't show immediately, but it changes everything about how you see and live your life. In the end, stillness is not about escaping the world. It's about returning to yourself. It's about learning to find calm in chaos, peace in solitude, and meaning in the quiet spaces between moments. It's in those spaces that you realize happiness is not something to be chased. It's something to be noticed, felt, and nurtured within. Growth through stillness is not loud or dramatic. It's steady, graceful, and deeply transformative. So, take time each day to pause, even for a few moments. Turn away from the rush of life and listen to the silence within you. That silence is not empty. It's full of answers, full of wisdom, full of life. And when you learn to grow through that stillness, you'll discover a happiness that doesn't depend on anyone else. A happiness that is quiet, peaceful, and completely your own.